Hello, I'm David Klecker, author of AutoHARP3 Harp Sci. Combat is built into the application for AutoHARP3, unlike an AutoHARP 2 where it was separate. This makes running combat seamless with the ability to level up characters and adjust character sheets during combat if necessary. So to begin combat, we need to define the characters that are going to be a part of the combat itself. So the first thing we can do is we can create a campaign file. And we can do that by loading in all of the characters we intend to group together, especially for our combat, and we can save that to a campaign file. I've already done this, so opening the campaign file here, as I open it up, you're going to see that I have 4 characters already loaded. So let's go ahead and open up Harp Sci-Fi Campaign AHC. And you're going to see that from here, if I go to Dashboard, I have the 4 character sheets that I'm going to incorporate inside of my combat. So at this point, all we need to do is click the Open Combat menu under Tools. This is the start of the combat screen. It's not turned on yet, so we need to start combat by clicking on the green button that's shown right here. So this first screen we will receive is the initiative screen, and here are all of the characters loaded into the combat. We can adjust their initiative modifiers, we can adjust their actions, we can adjust the percent of their actions, and we can even adjust the number of rounds. But as you select an action, the number of rounds should automatically be updated. So we can also add in a second action and split the 2 actions for the round if necessary. So for example, if you have a character in haste, you can add a new action, and if it's in haste, therefore the character can have both actions at 100%. Another thing that we can do here is we can add characters. So for example, we can click on Import Monsters from Database, and it's going to show us a list of monsters that are from the database. These are the basic templates. You can load these characters into the combat screen by simply selecting the monster that you want to load up, and then go ahead and click on Import Monsters. And as you can see, it appears down here. We can do the same thing if we had a character sheet that already exists. We can click on Import Monster Character from File, and we can pick a character sheet that we would like to include inside of our combat. We can do this at any time that when the initiative window comes up. So for example, I have Terry here, so I'm going to go ahead and open that file, and as you can see, it will open up in my combat. I'm going to go ahead and delete both of these character sheets because I want to stick to the 4 that are here. So I'm going to click on the delete button for both of these, so that I'm now down to just the 4. I have the initiative bonuses set, and I have the attack set, except for fusion. I would like to have this person do an activate side discipline, set that to 100%, and I think I would like to have Tilo do a movement maneuver. So I'm going to have them do, we'll just do a search 1 square meter area, just to show you how the maneuvers work. Let's go ahead and roll initiatives, and you will see that all 4 of these characters have now been sorted in initiative order, and we're going to go ahead and select finished and get to combat. There are 3 main parts to the main combat screen. This left column is going to define the player attacking, the middle column is going to define the player defending, and the right column is going to define all of the actions that we have done and their results. So starting with the attacker, we have their picture, we have their armor, we have their hit points, and their psi energy points. It would also list here if the character is stunned, bleeding, unconscious, etc. We can edit this information by clicking on this edit button that's shown here. And this is the character's main critical information. Each attack against the player is going to add to the player's critical information. So we can take away hit points, we can add stun, we can add bleeding, penalties, etc. And we can edit this by simply just putting in any hit points that we may have gained or lost, any psi energy that may be gained or lost. We can adjust any of this information and update the critical information, and we'll update this character live. We can also edit the player's character sheet as well as clicking on this cogwheel next to the attacker, and then we can make whatever adjustments are necessary and return to combat exactly where we left off. So if I wanted to add in any sort of levels or update any equipment or any sort of main skills or armor, I can do that from here, save it, and then go ahead and go back to main combat by just clicking on the back to combat. I can go ahead and adjust the action if I want. This is going to adjust the properties below, since each action can define different properties. So there are going to be 3 different types of actions that we can define. We have many different types of actions, but they all belong to 3 categories: melee, psi, and maneuver. Now if we have a psi ability that we're going to commit, that's going to be the fusion pilot when we get to him. He's going to have 3 different types of psi abilities that can happen: a utility, an attack, and then a physical attack. So based on the action that you select, you will display the appropriate properties that are needed to fulfill the attack against the foe. Then we can select the foe that we are attacking, which we can select right here. Let's go ahead and select Bobby. And then we can go ahead and, I think, actually Tylo is my movement maneuver character sheet. So we are going to, it's a square, I have to search 1 square meter per area. So that basically meant that this is actually not going to resolve until I have committed 4 rounds left. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to the next player, and then I'm going to come back and do movement maneuver later on. So let's go ahead and skip to the next player, and let's start with the Psi character, the fusion pilot. So if you select and activate Psi ability, this can happen in one of 3 ways. We can, well, first of all, we're going to have to select a foe, so I'll select Tylo. And we have to select a psi ability. Now I'm going to go ahead and select electrical control. This was going to give me a type mode selection that I need to select here. And I'm going to go ahead and select utility. So I'm going to show you what how utility works, how a utility psi ability works here in our combat. So for this utility, we're going to need to select a tier for this ability. So we're going to select the manipulation and control tier 3. Then we need to select the area of effect. I'm going to select 1 target per 10 ranks, select the range 1 meter per rank, and then select the duration 2 rounds per rank. As I select these tiers, it's going to update this description area here. It's going to tell me what the tier for the ability allows me to do to manipulate the input process by a device. It's going to give me the range, the duration, area of effect, and the penalty, and the number of psi energy it's going to use, the psi type, and then the resistance if applicable. Since this is a utility, we don't need to use the resistance. I have my adjusted penalty. I can put in any modifiers. No need to put in an attack size or critical type because this is not an attack in any way, shape. This is not a physical attack. I can put in a bonus if necessary, but I think I have everything that I need. I'm going to go ahead and see if I successfully can activate this by just activating psi. I'm not going to put in anything for player roll. Let's see what the computer rolls for me. Computer rolled a 74. That should be enough for that to be activated. And so we come up here to the results for round, and as you can see, it does say that the psi has been activated. It's going to give me some information, resistance roll if that was necessary, but it's not. And it's going to give me any sort of bonus, but minus 15 is going to be, whatever you want that to be. Right now it says rounds for psi activation is 9,999. I set it to that because you need to set this manually. There's so many variations on a theme when it comes to psi abilities. I don't know what kind of rounds there could possibly be. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to go into edit details. And the rounds active can come here with psi duration. It says 2 rounds per rank. I have 10 ranks in my skill, so that means that I have 20 ranks that this is going to be active. And the rest of this is just, it's going to be displayed for me, and I should probably know this from my character sheet, but I can always bring this up as a GM if I need to remember this is what this psi action is going to be able to do for this character. He's going to be selectively manipulate the input process by a device, and he can add, remove, or alter input values, however you want that to happen in your campaign. I'm going to go ahead and save changes, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on the next player. And what's going to happen here is a window is going to appear that shows all of the active psi abilities that are active for this particular combat. And it says that the fusion pilot, the character, has an ability called electrical control, and it's active for 20 rounds. And if I want to get more information about this, I can click on the ability and it will bring up that same window, and I can make changes to any of these if I need to. Okay, with Bobby, we have a ranged attack. So a ranged attack is using a ranged weapon like a blaster, And so when we select the blaster, we're going to be, it's going to select automatically the attack size and the critical type. So we're going to go ahead and select the assault blaster. That's going to go ahead and set my critical, and it's going to set my size. I have the ability to use burst mode. If I want to use it, I can go ahead and click on this checkbox, and it's going to use burst mode. So it's going to give a plus 35 bonus to my attack. If I want to set it to overload, I can go ahead and select that, and it's going to explode like a concussion grenade Mark III. If I want to use a tripod, that's going to remove any recoil penalty, but since I don't have any recoil penalty, there's no reason for the tripod, unless I wanted to get maybe a bonus for, an aimed shot. But that would be an action up here that we actually already have listed here. It would be actually called an aim burst or some kind of a controlled shot. This is the weapon OB that I have, so I have 27 OB that I can assign to this weapon attack, so I will assign all of it. I have no modifier. If the character that I'm attacking, if I'm at its flank or rear, or if the character was surprised, I can select any one of these. If the character, I won't select any of them, but since the character is not stunned or down, I can select none, or I can leave it blank. The default is none. Since it's a ranged attack, I should put a distance from target, and it will give me a range penalty if one is going to exist with this weapon. And then everything else is set exactly the way I would like it for my attacker. If I needed to do anything with the defender, for example, if I wanted to select a weapon, like let's say he's going to also have his assault blaster active or carried or equipped. He's got a weapon OB of 16, but can't really parry with an assault blaster from a ranged attack, so I'm not really going to be able to use parry. But I can certainly use a cover, so why don't I just say that I have full soft cover, and we can go ahead with that. So now what I do is I'm ready to attack my foe, so I'm press the attack button, and I attacked and I hit with 12 hits. And if I mouse over this, it'll give me some more information. It gives me the number, it gives me basically what happened with this attack. It gives me the attack roll, the defense roll. It tells me where I am on the critical table. So if I want to adjust where I'm at on the critical table, I can go ahead and click any of these buttons. This will raise me from each step on the critical table. So now instead of being at the 11 and 20 critical table row, I'm now at the 21 and 30. So I'm going up the critical table one step at a time. And I can go down the critical table one step at a time as well. You could use that for like called shots. If you're going to be aiming for a specific location, and the GM is going to give you like 1 or 2 steps that you can move up the critical table, or like maybe a subdual of some kind. I also have the critical description, so left leg, location, poor angle causes bolt to produce a moderate surface burn across the foe's chest. Since the location is on the left leg, I can go ahead and just say, well, it's not across the foe's chest, but it's across the leg. You can go ahead and just use this however you want, and maybe if this is necessary, I can go ahead and change up the critical table if that's what is necessary based on the location hit and the description that was given to me. So now that everything is fine the way I would like it here, I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next player, and this is going to be applied to Tylo. With Tanny being the next person to attack, I've already done a ranged attack, so there's really no reason for me to do another one, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the next player, and it's going to bring me to the initiative window. Searching 1 square meter per area is definitely not, I don't want that to take 3 more rounds. I want that to take 1 more round. So I'm going to go ahead and roll initiatives, and I'm going to go ahead and click on finished, and then we're going to finish this off by going through Tylo's movement maneuver, and then I'm also going to go through the fusion pilot, and I'm going to show you a couple more activate side disciplines that can happen during combat. Let's go ahead and finish. Now when it comes to a movement maneuver, you have the maneuver roll and you have the modifier. So if there's any modifier to this maneuver roll, we can put it here. But now that pretty much have exactly what I want here, I'm just going to go ahead and click on maneuver. It's going to give me a 37, and it says that it's a partial. And if you would like them to re-roll, you can give them a bonus if you want to re-roll. It's entirely on you. Let's say that I decide to give them a plus 20 to their next roll, and I set that to 0 and I roll again. That's a big success. 255 is a multiplier times 3. That's a very, very large success. So if this was a kind of like an attack that needed a resistance roll, that's going to be a hard one to beat. So obviously that person successfully searched the 1 square meter, so if there was something hidden, Pretty sure they were able to find it. All right, last thing to show is a couple more things about Activate Psi discipline. So for example, let me go and select electrical melding, because this one has an attack. And there's not going to be that much of a difference between the attack and utility when it comes to the combat itself. Because what's going to happen here is I'm going to select Tier 3 for melding, 1 target per 10 ranks, 1 meter per rank, and then 2 rounds per rank. And I'm going to have that penalty of -30. Just to make sure that I pass, I'm going to go ahead and give myself a bonus of a 30. I'm going to activate the Psi. And as you can see, I have successfully activated this attack as well. Now, since this is an attack, that resistance value that's right here that says 130, that's what Tylo is going to have to roll. And if Tylo fails that roll, well, then this electrical melding is going to be affecting Tylo. Now, the only reason why it would affect Tylo is if Tylo was a virtual character in this case. But I'm just showing you how you could use the attack Activate Psi discipline. It's going to be the same as the utility, but since we have this RR modifier, you can go ahead now and use that as your base point to see how you're going to see whether or not Tylo will actually succeed in either blocking this melding or he fails. So we can also go ahead and click on electrical melding here. We know that there's 10 ranks, 2 rounds per rank, so we can go ahead and change that also to 20 as well. All right, I'm going to click on next player. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on to the next round, and I'm going to show one more for the Fusion Pilot. So I'm going to do one more Activate Psi discipline. Hopefully he can get on the top. If I can get him on the top, there he is. I'm going to now finish. And the last one that I'm going to show you is going to be Energy Bolt. And this is actually going to be a physical attack. So this actually is going to have a critical associated with it. So we're going to select the tier 3 critical size. We're going to select my range, my area of effect, and my duration. And so now this is a physical attack. It is a medium electrical critical. I'm going to select medium for my attack size and electricity for my critical type. I'm going to go ahead and put a +30 bonus for this attack, and now I can activate Psi. A 206 is an incredible roll that hits with a +35. He's stunned 7 rounds. He's bleeding 2. I have this feeling that that probably killed him. So you can do what you want with that, but as a high crit roll for 96 to 100, that is definitely going to hurt. We can always look at the edit details of this spell. Again, it's probably going to take 20 rounds to, it's going to remain active for 20 rounds. So for each round, we might want to consider rolling another attack on this player. It would be an electricity attack as a medium. You can continuously do that for each round until he either moves out of the range or however you want to handle that. So Tylo is in quite a bit of trouble. But again, as you can see, active Psi's, all of those Psi that are active, they're showing up here. And as you can see, as we go through each round, the rounds active will actually decrement. Beyond that, that is basically all there is to combat. We just continue as we go through each round. We just continue rolling for initiatives, selecting actions for each round, finishing it up, and we keep going until you feel you have finished your combat. And that's all there is to the combat for Harp Sci-Fi. If there's anything that you have any questions on, please leave your comments below. Let me know if there's anything that I need to be a little bit more descriptive about. Thank you so much for purchasing AutoHARP3. This has been a work of love for me just to kind of get all of this ready to go. I think that this combat setup here, I hope really works for you. And again, one thing I did not show you also, these results for round, you'll notice that they're gone. Well, no, they're not actually. You can actually bring them all in and you can get a full report of all of the attacks that have actually happened in your combat. So you can get all of them. If a character's like, well, I don't remember what happened in this attack, you have all of the information for each and every single one of those attacks and what round they actually happened in. So again, thank you so much for purchasing AutoHARP3. Happy gaming.